Buddham cha dharmam cha dhammam cha yavati bodhim saranam gatosmi dhanadi punye cha kritai maivi buddho bhavyam jagato hitaya sarve sattva sukhai chaiva yukta syu sukhakaranai bhavantu satatam mukta dukha cha dukha karanat kadapi vanchita nasyu dukhahina mahasukhat dura dura dvesaraga mukto peksha stita hisyu. Then the Buddha taught 84,000 dharma skandhas, which means 84,000 different ways. And most of what he taught was depending on what people asked him. People would come up to him and ask him questions, then he would answer that and relate anything related to that question also. Of the 84,000 dharma skandhas, in the Mahayana tradition, they are divided into basically three, but you can also call it four major highways. And the first is what is called the way of renunciation. In Sanskrit is called Tyaga Marga. Tyaga means renunciation, Marga means path. And that is the basis of what is called the Shravakyana. The Shravakyana is the way to become an Arat, not a Buddha, but an Arat. And it was something that the Buddha taught. And today, of all the various schools of Shravakyana, only one survives, that is the Theravada. Very often we find people confusing Theravada as a yana, like a Mahayana and Theravada yana. I've even heard some Tibetan Rinpoches using the word Theravada yana. That is not accurate actually. Theravada is not a yana, it is part of Shravakyana. Just like Zen is not a yana, it's part of Mahayana. And Tibetan Buddhism is not a yana per se, like Nyingma is not a yana or Kaiju is not a yana. It is part of Vajrayana, which is part of Mahayana. And so it's very important to understand that the Shravakyana in ancient Indian subcontinent, and more than the Indian subcontinent actually, in the ancient time, Buddhism spread right up to Iran, even up to Syria. We know that recently they found a monastery in the Silk Route, with beautiful carvings and those kind of thing, and the artist was a Syrian Buddhist. So Buddhism had spread very far actually. All the records were completely lost. So if it has spread up to Syria, then definitely Iran is on the way, And we know for sure Afghanistan, because all the statues and everything still remains, but probably others were destroyed completely, And places like Uzbekistan and so on, the Central Asia, they were all Buddhist. The whole Silk Route was Buddhist completely. And during that period, there were 18 to 21 different Shravakyana schools, of which today only the Theravada survives due to various historical and political reasons. And the process, the basis of Shravakyana, is the way of renunciation. It doesn't mean Shravakyana doesn't have other things, like they don't have meditation, they don't have vipassana and those kind of things. But the basis is renunciation. And the principle of renunciation is basic. You have to understand the basic goal of Buddhism is to be free from what is called in Sanskrit klesha, defined, translated into English as emotional defilements, or emotional defilements. And the problem is, Sanskrit is a very rich language, especially in philosophical wordings. And each word has a lot of connotations and innuendos which does not carry through into translations. That is why in Tibet they created new words to have all those meanings and connotations, innuendos, things, but the average Tibetan doesn't understand those words, you know. So like for example the word klesha and comes from the root, you know, which is related to the word in Nepali we use the word klishta, which means difficult, you know, problematic, and it is the kleshas, anger, hatred, fear, and jealousy, greed, attachment, this which creates difficulties for us, creates problems for us, and that is why we have suffering, dukkha. That's the Sanskrit word, suffering, you know, we suffer, and because, or if you put it in the other way around, we are not fulfilled, we are not happy, you know, but you have to use the word happy in quotes. It's not the opposite of unhappy here, but really fulfilled, you know, because of these kleshas, the emotional defilements. They make it problematic for us to enjoy the here and now completely, you know, to see things as they really are, you know, to experience things as they really are. We see through the color of our emotional defilements, you know. Some people have more anger, some people have more greed or attachment, you know. Some people have more what is called in Sanskrit more. There is not the exact word in English for that, but it is usually translated as stupidity, you know, stupidity. But it's not just stupidity in the sense that you are stupid, you know, kind of stupidity, you know. It's mental neutrality, you know, mental dullness, inability to distinguish things, you know. That's what moha means actually. And for example, one of my teachers, Urgyen Rinpoche, used to give an example that if I show you a rose, then you say, ah, wonderful, nice, you feel nice. That is attachment, you know. If I show you, like for example, a lump of shit or something, then you say, ugh, you know, and that is anger, you know, or dislike. Dislike. Anger is just a single word, but there are many aspects of it, like dislike, irritation, all this kind of speed, the way Chogyam Trungpa used the word speed, these are all related to anger, you know. And if I show you a pen, you have neither dislike nor like, neutrality, but that is moha, you know, that is not clarity, you know. A lot of spiritual systems confuse neutrality for the enlightened state, you know. But in Buddhism, that is also a klesha, and you have to be free from that also. So klesha, how do you deal with these klesha? And the root of these kleshas is nescience, avidya, you know. Vidya is knowledge, you know, knowledge. Avidya means no knowledge, ignorance, you know. And so nescience in English, you know. And these, the objective of Buddhism is to be free, to free yourself from these. No matter what kind of Buddhism you practice, ultimately the objective is that, you know. Or another way around, the Four Noble Truths, the objective is to be free from suffering, you know. But you can be free from suffering only when you are free from the kleshas and nescience. That means avidya, you know. I mean, I'll continue to use the Sanskrit words. I'll tell you the meaning of it because it's easier for me. I'm more fluent with it, right? So, how do you deal with it? The one way to deal with it is renounce it. Renounce everything related to hatred, anger, attachment, and so on. It's like if I hold a piece of rose or a rose in my hand, then I renounce it. There's going to be some smell of the rose here. But if I keep on picking it up again and again, the smell is not going to go away. Likewise, klesha is not going to go away, you know. But if I renounce it and don't touch it anymore, you know, gradually it will vanish. The smell of the rose, or in this case, klesha, will gradually vanish, you know. And then the idea that I have a self, I, which is very strong in all humans, no matter what culture they come from, I, and in English, for example, perhaps I don't know about Spanish and Italian and so on, but English, they even capitalize the I. Do they do that in Iranian? No. So they even capitalize the I. I mean, this is culture, I is very important. I am. And deep down inside, we have this feeling that this I is unchanging, eternal. You don't have to be a philosopher. You just feel it in your gut level. I mean, when I say I believe. When I'm saying, I'm using the word I for myself, but that's for you as well. I believe that the I that said I 10 years ago is the same I. 20 years ago is the same I. And when I was 5 years old, I said I, and I believe right now this I is the same I. So this is the root of ignorance. If I am real, if I really exist the way I feel, and here we need to understand, Buddhist philosophy merely defines that clearly, But even if it wasn't defined, I do feel I exist, I am, and it's the same I that I've always been, And that is what is meant by a really existing I. Really existing I. Buddhism does not say there is no I at all, but a really existing I, which I feel is unchanging, the same old chap, continuously coming, That is ignorance, because it is a concept and not a real thing per se, That's why when it is the Sanskrit word is sahaja atma graha. Sahaja means spontaneous, automatically, or easily, and atma means the self, existing, really existing self, and graha means holding on to. I hold on to this, right? But it's an unconscious reflex. I have to protect I. So I have to do everything that is disturbs the security of that I. So every time I meet a new Joe, I have to scan him to make sure I can be secure with him. I'm safe with him, right? A new Joe means a new person. And very few people can just open up to a new person easily, Even if though you may talk freely, but you're scanning him, is this guy safe? Is this guy worth it? Or how deep shall I go with him? I have to protect myself. And so I have to create all this border, boundary, walls, security walls, all this. All my energy is spent on that. And I have very little energy for creativity, very little energy for really enjoying life fully, completely, And so this is nations. And whether you understand, you know the philosophical words or not, this is how we live life. And so to break through that, you meditate on there is no such a self. There is no such a self. And this is called the way of renunciation, the Shravakyana. And today, of all the various Sravakyanas, Theravada is the only one that is living. But it is an excellent example of a Shravakyana. And just recently I gave a talk on the Shravakyana as the way of renunciation, and I explained the various other yanas. And there was a professor of Pali, Theravada professor, Indian professor, and he was asked to give a comment at the end, and he said, I agree fully with him that the Shravakyana is the way of renunciation. So that is Shravakyana. But it is not an easy way. It's for human beings, it is not easy to renounce things that they are attached to. they like, and so on. It is not easy to like things they don't dislike, they dislike. So it's not an easy way. However, it is a way and people follow it. And they can attain what is called arat, through that method. And then there is what is called the way of antidote. The Sanskrit word is pratipaksha marga. Pratipaksha means opposite side, means opposite antidote. Prati is anti, dote is paksha. So pratipaksha. And that is like I have greed, attachment, that means I want. So the opposite of that is I give, dana paramita, the generosity, I give, the opposite. I have anger, hatred, I meditate on compassion, or loving kindness, and so on. So this way, and then I have this feeling of self, I meditate on emptiness of the self, and that is what is called the paramita yana. Now, Mahayana, there is a lot of confusion among people about Mahayana and Vajrayana, and many people think Mahayana and Vajrayana are two different things, but Advaya Vajra, who was a man from Lumbini, an enlightened being and also great scholar, who is in the Kaiju lineage called Maitripa, and his Sanskrit texts are still extant. And in his text, he has made it very clear, Mahayanam dui bidam. Mahayanam dui, I'm sure you understand dui, right? So, dui bidam, Mahayan is of two kinds, Paramita naya means paramita yan, mantra naya cheti means mantra yan. So, both paramita yan and mantra yan are Mahayan. Many people say Mahayan and Vajrayana, but Vajrayana is Mahayan, it's paramita yan and Vajrayana, and the way of antidote is paramita yana, and for example, the very famous school of paramita yan is Zen school, is paramita yan, and in China, Tian Tai, Sanlun, these various schools, they are all paramitayana. They are also called Sutrayana because they are based on the meditation methods given in sutras. Lankavadar Sutra, Sadharma Pundarik Sutra, Gandavya Sutra, Avatangsak Sutra, and many sutras which were the teachings of the Buddha. So, Bodhidharma, a lot of people who practice Zen, Zen has this, through the centuries, developed a tradition beyond words, beyond scriptures and this kind of thing. But Bodhidharma himself carried Lankavatar Sutra when he went to China from South India, And also there's a well-known tradition, not everybody seems to know, is that even though Zen has the tradition pointing directly to the mind, beyond sutras, beyond words and those kind of thing, throughout the history, among all the various schools of China and Japan, the most learned and versed in sutras were Zen masters, And in many Zen schools, the sutras verses were used as koans, as koans. So Zen is very much a Sutrayana. It's just the way it does it is different, But then the way every other school does it is different anyway. So it's not Zen that is different. And that is Paramitayan, also called Sutrayan. They are also called Hetuyana. Hetu means cause or causal. Why it is called causal is because the system, the method of that particular school creates causes and conditions conducive to enlightenment. So you practice creating causes and conditions conducive to enlightenment. For example, in the Mahayana tradition, which is also used in Vajrayana a lot, but specific to Paramitayana tradition, the first path, there are 5 paths called Pancha Marga. Pancha is 5, Marga. Marga means path, So 5 paths. The first path is what is called the path of collection, sambhar marga. Sambhar means collection. What do you collect? Merit, punya in Sanskrit, and wisdom, jnana. So you collect those things. You collect merit, because without merit you cannot become a Buddha. So just simply meditating in a corner does not make you a Buddha. You need immense merit. And merit is basically produced by giving, generosity. But there are many kinds of generosity. Giving money, financial aid, food, these are one kind of generosity. The other kind of generosity is kindness, loving kindness, caring, helping. Other kind of generosity is helping people when they are in trouble, and so on. There are many kinds of generosity. And this is what accumulates punya, charity and so on. These are things that are more or less found in all religious systems actually. Not merely, they are not as well defined as in Buddhism, that's all. Charity is a big thing in Christianity, charity is a big thing in Islam, charity is a big thing in Hinduism, charity is a big thing in Jainism, and I'm sure charity is a big thing in Judaism also. So it's found everywhere. But here, why charity? What does it do? And what is the use? First, it makes good karma. There are two levels of goal in Buddhism. One is towards enlightenment, and the other is towards a better life. And they go together. They go together. Towards a better life brings us to the concept of karma in Buddhism. If I don't have a good life, that's because I created that karma in my former life. But that doesn't mean fate, that's it, I can't do anything about it. I can create karma, or create a new karma to counteract it, to change it, and make my life better. And ultimately, we all die. And that is a big question, especially in the religious system of the Indian subcontinent. After death, is a very big question, which is not found so much in the Abrahamic religious system, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, because there is this concept of resurrection. But then, of course, a lot of people say that around the 5th century AD, Pope Constantine changed reincarnation to resurrection. A lot of people say that, And there was a congregation in Constantinople, and that's where he changed it to resurrection. But anyway, it's not found in the Abrahamic religious system. So it's like after death you go to heaven or hell. That's it. But here, after death, what happens and why does it happen? Is dependent on karma. What kind of karma you have accumulated. And if you have lived a good life in the sense of every other religious system, helping others, charity, doing good works and so on, it means you've accumulated good karma. Then you will go to heaven. Whether you are a Christian or whatever, or a Muslim or whatever. You don't have to be a Buddhist to go to heaven. If you are a good man, a good woman, let's say woman, nowadays it's a big thing with women. So if you are a good woman, then in India I kept on saying he, and one Indian lady said, you always keep saying he, And I said, well, that's the way I was brought up, And so then the next sentence I said she. And so if the person accumulates good karma, does good karma, or does good deeds, good work, whatever you like to call it, he or she is going to go to heaven. And it doesn't matter what religious system he follows. It doesn't even matter if he believes in any religion at all. He makes good karma, he will go to heaven. But Buddhism, going to heaven is not the goal. It's the least of the goals. In fact, in the Mahayan and Vajrayana tradition, we pray, may I never go to long-lived heavenly realms. Because I waste my merit. I finish off my merit. Merit creates good life. If you are born with a silver spoon in your mouth, it means you created a lot of merit in your former life. But you can exhaust it. So there are people who are born with this silver spoon in his mouth, but by the time he's 50 or 60 years old, he's begging in the street. There are many people like that, right? And that means he or she exhausted the merit. Merit is exhaustible. And we want to use merit to become a Buddha, not to exhaust it in heavenly realms where you live like Trump in Trump Palace or something. In Trump Palace, So that's why in the Mahayan Vajrayana system we pray that may I never be born in heavenly realms. But the Abrahamic religious system, it is the heavenly realms that is the main goal. But in Buddhism, that is considered very easy. It's not so difficult to reach those states. It's not so. And if you cannot become enlightened, if you don't have time to do all the meditations and so on to become enlightened, then this is the way to heaven. Become a good man or a good woman. Help others, and charity, all these things. And definitely you'll go to heaven no matter what you believe. And so according to Buddhism, you don't have to believe in Christ to go to heaven. If you do good works, like Christ also said, do good works. Definitely, he also said do good works and so on. So if you do good works, you'll go to heaven. But we do good works in the Mahayan tradition, not to go to heaven, but to become a Buddha ultimately. And that is the first path, accumulation of merit and wisdom. So wisdom, you study, you meditate, you analyze and find out whether what the Buddha said is correct or not, and if it is correct, why it is correct, and how is that applicable to my life, my experience, day-to-day experience, So that's how you do it. That's the accumulation of merit and wisdom, And gradually, if you accumulate that and you practice, then your faith in the Buddha or what the Buddha said, and your mindfulness, your samadhi, your wisdom, and your effort, becomes more and more powerful, more and more powerful, more and more powerful. And then in Sanskrit, these are called 5 faculties, indriya faculties. The 5 faculties of faith and so on turn into the 5 powers. Bal. Bal is the Sanskrit word. It means strength, strength and so on. They turn into 5 powers. That's when we go into the second part of the path.